does look like Dash Shield Fairborn's got a little more flair. Here's a look at the brand new Hiya Toys G.I. Joe Flint Tiger Force version. Tiger Force is called on for secret and highly dangerous missions. A special unit within the G.I. Joe team, formed to combat the expansion of Cobra facilities in remote jungle locations around the world. The team navigates treacherous terrain to hunt down and dismantle Cobra operations. Flint is a mission specialist and a leader for G.I. Joe, providing tactical information and training to the team to make sure they are ready for whatever Cobra throws at them. He's a living database of scenarios and tactics, and always has his team prepared for when he leads them into the field. Flint wears his stripes with pride, whether from a flag or a feline. Taking, though, first the tape measure to see how tall the figure stands, I'd like to also thank the folks over at Hiya Toys that were kind enough to provide this sample. Tiger Force version Flint stands at about 3 3/4 of an inch in height, or roughly about 9.5 centimeters tall. Unfortunately, I never picked up the original Flint, so I can't bring him in. I can, though, certainly bring in Gun Ho. I can also bring in Beachhead. In fact, you know what, let's just move Beachhead over just a little bit to bring in his lady friend. Here's what he looks like with lady friend Lady J. A stand does get included with Flint. It seems to be one of 3 different types of terrain. The actual look of the display bases are about all the same, but it does seem like the casings are placed in different areas. Now, I've already borrowed a couple of these, actually, when it comes to displaying my Predator figures on the shelf, also from Hiya Toys, because I think kind of like the muddier terrain with like the bullet casings work perfectly with a character like the Predator. What you can also do, too, is on the bottom of the display stands, if I move my blasted fingers out of the way, you can see there's a slot, in fact, actually, if you look at all the sides, there's 2 slots on each of those. You get, as well, these eye brackets. The eye brackets, I'm sure you already have seen this, I don't know how many times already, but the eye brackets, thank you for still watching this, still plugs on to the bottom of the base, and if you have yourself multiple display stands, which we have looked at several times, basically just take multiple display stands. It goes this way, it can go this way. So let's move that display stand out of the way, though. There is, though, again, a peg right there. It's somewhat camouflaged. But, yeah, it does peg onto the bottoms of Flint's boots. You only get 1 peg, you get 2 Flint's boots. So you have to choose wisely. Move those off to the side. Now, because I don't have the original Flint, I had to kind of look online at images not only of what the figure looked like, but also the accessories as well. The beret is one thing he already comes included with. He also comes included with a holster on the back of his body that's going to hold one of his shotguns. But funny though enough, he actually, I think, only comes included with this shotgun out of the packaging. I don't think the regular standard variety gun was one of the included in original accessories for Flint. So in this case, it seems like you get 2 of them. Now, he also has 2 hands, so he can easily hold both. But let's just say that's a little excessive, and Flint only needs to really hold 1. By the way, I want to show you guys what that looks like. No sense really in just talking about it unless I'm actually doing the job of showing you guys. It does have some bullets there on the sides. The back stock doesn't fold back or anything like that, but I think it's well painted though. And again, you can either fit this into his hand. This can also fit on the back of his holster as well. And we'll just slide it in place. There we go. I guess it probably would go that way, wouldn't it? Not that it really matters. It holstered pretty much the exact same way. And then there's a peg right here that's going to plug onto the back of his body. A little bit of an issue with that. We'll kind of talk more about that in a moment. Again, you also get this version of shotgun, which I think the regular Flint also came included with. It's a little bit lighter of a gray than this one here. And you also got some additional brown that's added down to the bottom there as well. And again, just fits into his hands. But let's go to the back of his body now, shall we? If you look at the back, his bulletproof vest, I would imagine this would be, has a hole right here. Unfortunately, the hole goes through here, and then the hole goes also into the back of his torso. You have to align everything just right. And even then, I noticed actually with the way that the peg is designed, when I think that I have it all the way on there, it just doesn't seem like it holds well enough in place. This has actually fallen off a couple of times on me. It also, I feel, sticks up too high. I would have probably even maybe taken the peg and moved it right here so that the holster wouldn't seem so obnoxiously high in the back of the figure's body. I would have maybe had it sitting more down here. Especially when you start to put shotguns in there, it just seems like it sticks a little too high out the back of the figure's body. It's just me, though. Let's move that off to the side. We'll take the holster off, too. He also does come with some swappable hands. Now, out of the packaging, I actually had to change one of the hands. Let's just put him down here for a second. He does come with a regular gripping hand. He also comes with a slightly more smaller hand, probably better suited for holding the knife. Wait, he has a knife? It's right over here. So one for holding the knife, one for holding the guns. And then he also comes with a trigger firing hand. and then he also comes with a wider kind of understock holding hand. One thing I noticed though with these hands is that the peg hole I didn't think was large enough. I ended up having to take like a screwdriver, and I just made a little bit bigger of a hole just so it could properly attach onto the pegs. Maybe it was just the way that mine came out of the packaging or out of the factory, but it seemed like the hole was just too small. Plug that onto the figure's body, and of course, yeah, you can take yourself the shotgun. Shotgun just plugs into his hand, just like that. And of course, the figure does also have an elbow bend, so you get a good, pretty good range. Even though the figure really only has just a small, I guess it would be a double hinge, because like, even though it doesn't really bend up here necessarily, I guess it does. I mean, we'll say it's a double hinge, even though really like the hinge is so far really away from the elbow. After a while, you start to think it's part of his arm, which I guess really it is. So let's just say, yeah, the figure does have a double hinge in the elbow. So yeah, you get a pretty good pose going for Flint here. The one other thing, of course, if you're going to have a Flint figure, is the figure needs to have a beret, right? I mean, that's one of the notable things about Flint, is the fact he does have a beret. Flint, Dusty, what are the characters? General Hawk? Did General Hawk? No, he had more of a hat. Anyways, though, Flint does have a beret, and it seems like it's the exact same beret as the original Flint, although in this case, because of course it's Tiger Force, it's more orange than the regular black it would have been before. The original Flint also would have had the patch on the front in red. Tiger Force version of the figure does have it in more of a yellow color. Now, I guess before we actually put on the beret, I want to show you guys what the head sculpt looks like. Seems though like he does have a scar on his one eye. Maybe he was tussling with the Baroness. Oh la la. Head sculpt looks good. I think though it's a different head than what the original Flint was. If you have that original figure, you'll let me know down below in the comments section. It does also seem like maybe he's got a cauliflower ear. At least that's what I'm looking at. Could also just be the way I'm looking at it too. Maybe I gotta worry about my own eyes. He clearly has damage though on one side of the figure's face. Of course, we can take the beret and just fit the beret over top of his head. And if you put it far enough down there, it does, yes, survive the blizzard test. The colors, though, carry over for that orange as well. I mean, now we've got orange and black stripes there. I guess orange outfit, and then he's got the black stripes there on his sleeves. He's got stripes there on the back of his body. I think, like, the vest that he has is pretty much the exact same. It's got the bullets down the side there as well. This seems like it is a separate piece. Not that you would be able to remove it or anything like that, but yeah, it does seem like it is a separate piece. He's got his belt down below here as well, some nice pockets. And of course, I already had mentioned that he does have a removable knife. Not only does he have a removable knife, let's just move it up just a little bit. On the side, though, he also has a removable gun. The first release of Flint also had, I think, the exact same gun. I was kind of actually impressed to see that they add a little bit of silver to this as well, so it's not just the dark gunmetal gray. And obviously that can fit into his hand as well. Yeah. Speaking of which, though, like, he does have the removable knife. You don't have to make the noise, though, while you're doing it. Knife looks good. It's got nice silver there as well. And the handle, they actually afforded a little bit of brown, so it's not just the gray. I know if I don't sheath this right away, I'm most likely to lose this, but of course this can also fit in his hand as well. Yeah, the figure does look good. I have a little bit of an issue, again, when it comes to really attaching the holster on the back of his body. I mean, again, it just feels like... It's not obviously a case that I'm doing it wrong. I know that a peg goes into a hole. That's simple shapes, but it just doesn't seem like it stays in there well enough. Anyways, though, for the rest of the figures, the rest of his details, like the coloring for his face, one thing I will say, kind of before we get to the articulation on the figure, is that the head sculpt has definitely more of a reddish tint, when very obviously you can see like his arms are a little bit more of a yellowish skin tone. It's just a small thing, but other than that, I really like the look of Flint here. Okay, so let's look at the figure's articulation. Head's going to be on a bulge, right? So it does rotate all the way around. You can do that with or without the beret if you want to, but I'm going to keep the beret on. Head's going to look up, it's going to look down, and you can also move it back and forth as well. And of course, yeah, it could rotate theoretically all the way around. The upper torso normally I would say would be on a ball joint, just because he has the vest over top of everything. It kind of makes things a little bit harder to move things. His arms can come out at a T-pose. This arm's a little on the more stiffer side. It's always really weird when you get a figure that is super tight on one side and super loose on the other. And you would think, though, that the assembly in the factory is exactly the same, right? The arms do rotate all the way around on this side as well. He has a swivel in his bicep. I know I kind of bounced back and forth between a single hinge and a double hinge. Clearly, though, he has a double hinge in his elbow. And the hands rotate all the way around. Just be careful of the hands, though, because the way they are attached, periodically, though, they pop right off. Pop off. The legs split out about that far, just because the holster sits a little further up his leg. Splitting the legs on this guy would make things first painful for him, but also the holster might get in the way of things too. Legs move forward, legs move back. There's a swivel there at the top of the thigh. You could also really, too, drop the legs down. There's real no announcement yet that Hiya Toys will be releasing at any point a vehicle set, like a bunch of vehicles that the Joes can sit inside. So right now they don't actually have anything to sit inside, but if you want to have them in a seating position, you just kind of just drop the legs down a bit and then just pop them back in place. Do we have to keep making that noise? Technically, no. Swivel 3/4 of the way up the leg, there is a swivel cut, so you can rotate that all the way around. Figure does also have a double hinge in his knee. Don't make that mistake again. And he has also the ankle articulation. Up and down this way, an ankle rocker back and forth. And I already mentioned, the figure does have peg holes in the bottoms of his feet. I still will be questing my way out to find myself the original Flint. Flint, I don't know if you already know this, because I probably had said this at nausea. Flint is it is my favorite G.I. Joe ever. Always was a big fan of Flint. I had the original toy. I think I got one for my birthday. I lost him. Then I had my allowance, and I bought another Flint. Anybody really care? Nobody really cares. So Flint really has been my childhood heroes right from day one. Nice to get ourselves finally a Flint for Hiya Toys. Now again, like this is the second release, Flint. The first one had more of the classic colors of Flint with the green pants, the black shirt, and kind of his SWAT vest here was more, again, I guess really the SWAT vest kind of kept about the same colors. Drastically, though, they changed the black out in favor of, like the Tiger Force traditional orange and the black stripes. Works really well for the character. I think if I had the choice and I could only really pick up one, my interest level would be higher, I feel, for the original Flint. Maybe not as high for Tiger Force, because I just would want the original look to the character, but he's certainly a well-welcomed addition to my growing G.I. Joe collection. Yo, Joe. What a Joe Flint is, even though he's the Tiger Force version of him. You know, one thing I really liked about Flint was always the fact he had himself the beret. And the beret, very similar in the way that Major Blood had the removable helmet and Gung Ho had his removable cap. You can take all of these accessories off of the figure. The fun thing about getting them out of the packaging, though, is that it's not just the accessories that come with them separately, but then when you start to look at everything on the figure, you realize, okay, I can take off a knife. I can take off the holstered gun. Those would all be things that really, in the original 80s release of Flint, or any other G.I. Joe for that matter, there always would have been molded onto the figure's body. I do like the fact that they all have removable accessories. Some of the accessories for Flint might be a little bit more difficult. I don't have it on yet, but the holster, as you saw in this review for holding the additional shotgun, doesn't hold it all that well on the back of the figure's body. Not that I had an issue where I had to dowel it, which was the complete opposite when it came to Flint's hand. Out of the packaging, it was really weird, though. They had a smaller hole on his hand, and I had to take like a small enough screwdriver, not enough to damage, of course, the plastic around it. I just had to make the hole a little bit wider so it fit the peg properly. Yeah, the head sculpt looks good. I mean, again, this one looks like he's a little more scarred in the face. Maybe he did have traded tussles with Baroness. Ooh la la. Yeah, liking the look of Flint here. If you're a big fan of Tiger Force, let me know down below in the comments section. And if you've had the chance to be collecting any of the Hiya Toys, G.I. Joes, or Cobras. Speaking of Hiya, I'd like to thank the folks there, obviously, that did provide this sample, the brand new G.I. Joe Tiger Force version Flint, that we had the chance to have a look at this review. For your video question, let me know down below in the comments section. Now I know we have G.I. Joe, we have Cobra. Of the side category G.I. Joe teams and Cobra teams like Tiger Force, Sky Patrol, Python Patrol, what would be your secondary side category of the regular G.I. Joes and Cobras? Let me know down below. I was always really partial to Python Patrol. Sky Patrol seemed like sort of like you defeated any purpose of any plot, because I think they had reflective surfaces. You'd shoot at their planes, it would just basically bounce off their planes. G.I. Joe would just basically, if I was a Joe, I would just think to myself, I'm just going to put that on every single vehicle we have moving forward. They can never be destroyed. But Python Patrol for me was all where it was at. What was yours? Let me know. If you guys also did enjoy this video, do it a solid and throw it a like. You guys want to stick around for more so? I hope so. Hit that subscribe, turn on that bell, and of course, come back. As always, thanks for watching. See you guys next time.